Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So I was listening to the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's speech at his conference yesterday after making the Pursuit of Truth that I actually made about black history and fair DNA. And while I was listening to it, it sort of struck me what I was talking in that one and what was talked about in that one. This idea of fairness being in our country's DNA, again mentioned. I mean, yeah, I understand that, you know, the UK has been a country that has done a lot of fair things, you know, when it comes to asylum and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, law and order and all that kind of things. But there is a lot of things that this country has also done that's not been very fair. You know, when it comes to the empire, colonies, what was done in Pakistan and India, what's been done in Africa, you know, what's been done in Israel and Palestine, the splitting up of that, you know, what's been done, you know, in Iraq and Afghanistan more recently. You know, there's lots of things where you could make an argument for maybe both cases. But I think the thing is trying to attribute these things of goodness and not goodness or wickedness or whatever you want to call it. These are human attributes. It doesn't actually really matter where you come from, what country you are. Yeah, certain countries may have cultures that lead them a certain way or other, but actually it's human beings that drive these things. And, you know, just some of the way he tries to, you know, attribute, you know, because he's obviously a non-white person who's running the country, trying to sort of attribute that the Conservative Party or even, you know, any of the Conservative or Labour, you know, have had anything to do with race relations and building. Yeah, they may pass some laws. A lot of the things, you know, are laws that are passed when they're forced to, you know, and it's all the campaigners and the other people that are not recognised are actually the ones standing up, the ordinary people that fought for rights for non-white people, as it's so called in the system that we live within. So, you know, it just seemed a bit sort of, you know, I don't know, it just seemed a bit rich to try and say that those things can be attributed. These things are human values that we're trying to fight for, that everyone can live peacefully with each other no matter of what. And I thought some of his attacks on gender were a bit misplaced, and his attacks on Nicola Sturgeon was sort of... It just sometimes you think that these people, are they really serious? Why are they acting like school children? Why are they, you know, this... Because this is the thing, it's what it's done. It's like Labour and Conservatives are just, rather than answer questions, they just fight each other and say, you're rubbish and you're more rubbish than me. You know, that kind of stuff that is... I mean, no wonder nothing ever gets done because of that kind of stupidity. You know, we should be above that. We shouldn't be just trying to score points with each other. We should actually be answering questions and doing things together and working together because we're all human beings. But it's all this division, and then it's easy for people to sort of flip onto one side and sort of forget about the actual real picture and just get caught in the fight, as it were. See, I thought this speech was riddled with hypocrisy and untruths, but yeah, let's see what you think.
It is family that cares for us at the beginning of our life. It is family that helps us learn. It is family that sustains us. And in old age, it is family that lightens the autumn of our days. Family matters. And as proud Conservatives, we should never be afraid to say that. And there's another family that matters to us all, our family of nations, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Today, our union is the strongest it has been in a quarter of a century. The forces of separatism are in retreat across our country. Nicola Sturgeon wanted to go down in the history books as the woman who broke up our country, but it now looks like she may go down for very different reasons. We are a remarkable combination of four nations with a proud history. And that history should give us enormous confidence in our future. My grandparents didn't emigrate to just Leicester or Southampton, but to the United Kingdom. They came here because our country stands for a set of values. We are the home of fair play, the best of British. We are the place for those who want to add to our national story. The United Kingdom has done a huge amount for my family. I often think about how different our lives would be if my grandparents had not left India and East Africa all those years ago. I owe our country everything. And it is my duty to do what I can to help this country take the right long-term decisions for the years ahead. The United Kingdom is also the most successful multi-ethnic democracy on earth. And our party has led the way on that. We had the first ethnic minority prime minister when Queen Victoria was still on the throne. We've had 3 female prime ministers, and I stand before you today as the first non-white leader in our country's history. Meanwhile, Labour's last 3 leaders all live within the same square mile of North London. Now, when the Richmond Conservative Association selected me in North Yorkshire, people in other countries couldn't understand it. One American magazine even sent a reporter to Yorkshire to write about how a candidate of the wrong race could cost the Tories one of the safest seats in England. But they should not have projected their own prejudices onto our country. The people of North Yorkshire were not interested in my colour, but my character. Never let anyone tell you that this is a racist country. It is not. My story is a British story. A story about how a family can go from arriving here with little to Downing Street in 3 generations. What does the Conservative Party offer a family of immigrants? The chance to become Energy Secretary, Business Secretary, Home Secretary, Foreign Secretary, even the chance to become Prime Minister. When I first became an MP, my grandfather came to Parliament to see me. As we stood in Westminster Hall, on that floor which Disraeli and Churchill had walked across so many times, my grandfather suddenly got out his mobile phone and started to make a quick call. I was a new MP and I wasn't quite sure whether phones were allowed there or not. And I said, Nanaji, can't you just wait a moment? And he replied that he was calling the landlady he had when he had first arrived in this country. He said to me, I just wanted to tell her where I was standing. Now, I am proud to be the first British Asian Prime Minister, but you know what? I'm even prouder that it's just not a big deal. And just remember, it was the Conservative Party that made that happen, not the Labour Party. Now, if we want to change the direction of our country and to build a better future, nothing is more important than making our education system the best it can be. When our party came to power in 2010, our schools were slipping down international league tables. Now, they are rapidly rising. Of what we have done in government since 2010, What I am proudest of is our record on education. With Michael and Nick Gibb, we took on a failed ideology. We brought back proper knowledge. We empowered reformers. We gave parents more choice and helped them hold schools to account. But perhaps the most profound thing we have done is to disprove the idea that there is something predestined about who will succeed and who won't.
I don't know, that's not my experience of having to fight for Alina and neurodiverse disabled children and the graduated process failing Alina for a whole year. If anyone's seen the Pursuit of Truth on on the HCP and Alina's help letter, I would beg her to differ that that's not the account that I'm experiencing at school. I don't know, it just seems to be like a very like rose-tinted view of the world, this idea of, I don't know, like all the things of, Britain being fair and, our history, but there's littered with all sorts of terrible things, and trying to sort of make out that the America, was a racist country and we're not racist. Oh my goodness, I'll be very surprised if he hasn't himself experienced racism, even now as he's Prime Minister. I would be very surprised if he hasn't. The country per se may not be racist, but there's a fair amount of racists in this country, as there is everywhere. This is, but it's very rose-tinted how he's talking about these things. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the bit where he talked about gender. It may have been at the beginning. People were crying and clapping, and yeah, it's great that. But I suppose the thing is, you could question is, why is it taking so long?
A place for those who want to add to our national.
Why is it taking so long for this to happen? If this country is so great and fairness and this, that, and the other. Let's see if I can find a bit.
And there's another family of nations.
Sounds good now. I don't know if I can find it.
And we shouldn't get bullied into believing that people can be any...
Oh, here. This is where he says it.
That means life means life. Now, that shouldn't be a controversial position. The vast majority of hard-working people agree with it. And it also shouldn't be controversial for parents to know what their children are being taught in school about relationships. Patients should know when hospitals are talking about men or women. And we shouldn't get bullied. And we shouldn't get bullied into believing that people can be any sex they want to be. They can't. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. That's just common sense. We should also never be afraid to talk about the thing that matters most to most of us, family.
Right, sorry, that was what I missed at the beginning, yeah. I was surprised he said that about gender, because, I suppose it's coming from a religious point of view, as I suspect he is a devout religious person. Well, who knows, but a lot of people say they're devout religious, but they've got lots of money. Yeah, I don't know, that seems like, I don't know, this is a difficult one. Like, if you'd asked me that question 10 years ago, I probably would have, because I was religious and you believe in this ideology of a man's a man, a woman's a woman, but, what's it going to do with me? We're all human beings, that's how I look at it now. We're human beings with one existence, one life. Does it really bother me if somebody else wants to be something else that maybe they're not genetically? Or maybe they are genetically. That's the problem, is like he's saying that a man's a man, a woman's a woman. But what about these people that that do have X or Y chromosomes that belong to the different sex then, or their organs are different than what those X and Y's are, and etc. Like it's that. So he's saying for everyone. I think that's going to come a bit of a backlash. But I think it also buys into that argument that the previous pursuit of truth, talking about people now being overtly, saying things, whereas before they were covertly saying it, would be a bit more subtle, So, but he's just coming out straight with it. I mean, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to, I don't know, because when you see, like in 90 Days and things that I watch on TLC, or Discovery is now, you see people who have made these transitions, and you see them trying to get happiness. So I don't understand. I don't see it that way anymore. Like, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't attack me. I mean, I know there could be issues with these things, with bathrooms and at schools and things. And I know a lot of people try, like they did with homosexuals, to sort of say that, oh, they're going to be perverts or they're going to be rapists. Like, then this is the same argument you hear about. That's what people are worried about, the people changing sex. But I don't, I would suspect the vast majority, if not all of them, especially those who are doing transition surgery, is nothing to do with being a pervert or being able to see people of different genders. It's about themselves. And that argument was used for homosexuals as well, wasn't it? That, this, that and the other. But these are sort of racist or whatever, homophobic, and maybe this is transgender phobic, whatever the word is, that people are using those kinds of arguments. It's not about that. It's human beings that feel something and want to be something else. I mean, there's lots of people become things that they're not, as it were, like in their character, in their, so it's just, I don't see it. It doesn't bother me if someone wants to be something else or wants to go through that change. Lots of people do surgery. Lots of people, do surgery to change. If you do to Jehovah's Witness, they're going to say, well, no, you can't do that because you're not allowed to do the blood change, and you should keep what you've been given. So I suspect if we asked him, well, do you mind then? What's your view on plastic surgery and things like that? And is it should you stay as you were? So I don't know. It seems like it's the system kind of view, the old ways of thinking, rather than actually looking at us as human beings. He's still stuck in that time zone, and it seems strange that it's coming from him. Think would understand, because I'm sure his grandparents and his parents and himself has gone through trying to change it. When his grandparents came here, it wouldn't have been an easy ride, and I'm sure it wasn't for him going to school. He talks about Britain not being racist. I suspect he had a few names and was treated a certain way throughout his life, and his parents and his grandparents. It's taken time to change human beings, who have got stuck in this way of, this is England and only English people can live here and all that kind of rubbish. The Alf Garnett syndrome. But it is taken time, and I wonder whether he's making that mistake when he's talking about, well, he's making a mistake anyway, because human beings, they should be living as human beings, and we shouldn't be worried, like, he's talking about how lucky he was if his grandparents hadn't come here. But then doesn't he have that heart to feel about the people who are fleeing in these boats, who are putting their lives at risk? All he wants to look at is the crime aspect of it, not the actual, human beings who have gone, imagine, I would never be able to do that, go on that kind of journey, risk my life on the sea. Imagine how their life must be that they choose to do that. Where's the heart for them? The heart was granted for his grandparents. That's why we need to stop these borders and start living as human beings, not as Englishmen or Americans or Russians or Chinese or Arabs or Middle Easterns or whatever. We live as human beings, and we see that part first, and then redesign our world based on that, and how we can all benefit each other and help each other as human beings. Because it doesn't benefit us to have countries in poverty, in suffering and all this thing. It would benefit us all. We know how to all live nicely. We know how to build infrastructure and everything that we need for each other. We have enough resources and people and energy for everyone to live in a great place and have a great existence. And why not? Well, the benefit of that outweighs any of the system that we're living in now of money, greed, power and possession. Anyway, take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.